everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a proper review on my 2021 Ram 1500 TRX. I realized that I never did a review on this truck. I've done a ton of videos with it, but I never actually gave you guys like a full tour, full walk around, full review. So let's get into it. Now, other than there being a bunch of dirt under the hood because I have taken it off-road twice, we have a supercharged 6.2 liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 702 horsepower and then 650 pound-feet of torque, with fuel economy being 10 around town and then 14 on the highway. I've been averaging 8 to 9 miles per gallon. So yeah, and you guys can see the whole setup back there. And then obviously I do have to show you guys the Easter eggs. So you've got the T-Rex eating the Raptor, which is 100% true, and it's everything front of the hood. Now, there's a ton of fun stuff happening here on the front end of the TRX. So first off, you've got the functional venting there in the center with the marker lights. Definitely a really cool look. And then this venting here on the side is just for stylistic purposes. It is not functional. And then it does say 6.2 liter supercharged there on the side. And then coming down below, with the TRX, you get these LED projector bulbs, which are very, very bright at night. I mean, it's the middle of the day, guys, and you can see it's like illuminating here on my shirt. They're extremely bright. And then you've got the fog lights just down below right there, also LEDs. And by the way, when you turn your turn signal and you're turning to one direction, the fog light that you're turning towards will turn on, which is cool. Got the marker light there on the side. And then notice that you've got the tow hooks here on the front with the skid plate that pops out. And then you have the hollow Ram logo. And other than that, that is the front end. If you look at like this portion right here and that portion down there, that pretty much looks just like a Rebel. Now, coming on the side here, we've got 325mm tires wrapped around 18-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. They're 35s. Now, what I've found so far is on road, these tires are best at about 38 PSI. Now, that is the cold weather rating, but I found that the truck just rides perfect at 38 PSI. That's kind of my recommendation. And then off-road, I've noticed 34 to 35 PSI is great. And yes, I did wrap the ring to match the rest of the truck because, I mean, now it just looks so much cooler with that. It has the off-road side steps. I went for the smaller mirrors. I definitely prefer the look of these compared to the trailer mirrors. And then notice I do have the Ram bar there at the top. Now, I did get the 2 Mopar lights. I ordered out 2 more, however, because I feel like 2 is not enough. And so I'm going to have 4 lights there at the top of the rack shortly. And then notice just how big the fender flares are here on the truck. Obviously, the fenders are massive because you've got like the venting here and you have the extension there. But also the fender flares on this truck are huge, which is another crazy thing. And let's head to the bed. Now, popping into the bed here, in terms of the payload capacity, it's 1,034 pounds, so super low payload. Now, part of that is due to the off-road suspension this has, and then the other part is the fact that you have a Hellcat engine in the front end. It's super heavy, so that's also going to lower the overall payload of the truck. Full liner from the factory, and then I got the bed utility group, so it comes with these sliders and then full LED bed lights. And then I also did get the spare tire. This is something that I definitely recommend. You guys can probably notice that most of the truck is really dirty, and underneath the truck also, I mean, I haven't had a chance to really fully detail it in the last little bit, so definitely got to get stuff off the exhaust pipes, all that kind of stuff. Probably just pay someone to do it. But normally this is where the spare tire sits, is underneath the truck. Now, if you're going to do any sort of off-roading with this truck, I recommend getting this tire carrier because you can see the spare tire looks like it is pretty much perfectly clean, which is huge for the off-road because if you get it super dirty, you're not going to be able to use it. That's what happened to my Raptor tires, so I definitely recommend that. And then as for the Ram bar, if you're not going to get these LED lights here at the top, then I don't recommend getting it because, I mean, it looks cool. Definitely gives the truck a cool look, but that's the reason why I got it, is so I could have the lights for added visibility on the off-road. But yeah, that's the bed. Now, you guys probably noticed that you've got the LED light there for the cargo light and then for the tail lights as well. And then this venting here, this is also not functional like the venting you have up front. And then the bed utility group does add this little kickstep thing, which, I mean, it's okay, but you can see that it holds up tons of like mud and dirt and everything. And as much as I spray it off, it continues to get dirty. And on top of that, I'm putting aftermarket bumpers on the truck and I have to take it off anyways. So yeah, kind of useless for me personally, but it's still cool. You've got the recovery hooks here in the back. Towing capacity is about 8,000 pounds. And then you have the gigantic oval exhaust tips, which, I mean, the exhaust sounds amazing on this truck. Now, this does normally come with like a TRX badge and all that, but I just debadged everything except for the Ram logo because I feel like it looks a lot cleaner just with that one logo here from the rear. But if you look at it like head on, if you take away the Ram bar, it pretty much looks just like a Rebel from this angle. Now before we pop in the back seat, I do want to show you guys the active shocks from Bilstein. Just the whole setup looks really cool. This has 5-link coil suspension in the back end. That's really the biggest difference between this and the Raptor, because the Raptor has leaf springs. Now the 2021 Raptor is going to have 5-link coil suspension just like this, but the TRX was the first one to do the 5-link coil suspension. Now let's go over the door panel here in the rear. Notice that you've got the beautiful leather with the red stitching, Alcantara, and then carbon fiber, and then more leather down below. And a lot of this is pretty expensive option-wise. So the carbon fiber is an option, all the Alcantara is part of a package, and then the red stitching. So I believe the carbon fiber is like $1,000 option, and then the red stitching and all the red accenting is also another like $1,000 package. Rubber floor mats, which are really nice for someone like me that does some off-roading. And notice you've got the ice buckets and the storage space under the seat. That's why I have the seat up like that, so you guys can see the storage space. And then notice that all the leather here on the seats is perforated. And then you've got more carbon fiber here. You've got some USBs, a full power outlet, heated and cooled seats. And then you've got some like bullet holders right here. And then notice you've got some storage space behind. And there's even Alcantara on the back of the seat. Like most manufacturers would just slap plastic back here, but notice that Ram still made the back of the seat really nice material wise. And then you guys are probably wondering, of course, with the space here. So if I step in, it's really good. I mean, it's just like any other 1500 crew cab. It's massive. There's tons of legroom. What am I wearing? Anyways, yeah, super comfortable back here. And well, let's head to the front. Now going over the door panel here in the front, notice again, same exact theme as the rear, so I'm not really going to go over it too much. You do have window controls up here, and then notice that you've got memory seats, and then this is also part of that red accent package. Harman Kardon sound system comes with it. This speaker gets super dirty quick just because of all the stuff that pops in here. And then notice with the seats, you've got the TRX logo on it, and then you've got more of that red accent that's part of that package with the Alcantara. The seats are fully power adjustable. You guys can see the pedal layout. I really need to detail this truck. And then notice you've got the pedal adjustments, the parking brake, light controls just up above. The steering wheel is manually adjustable, which is crazy because the Raptor has a power adjustable steering wheel. And then the paddle shifters there on the back, and there's one we're looking for. We pop in. Now here's the steering wheel in the TRX. I love what they did with the steering wheel because they put the Alcantara at the top and at the bottom as nice accent pieces. But then they did leather. We're actually going to grab it, which leather is going to last a lot longer than the Alcantara. And so yeah, just definitely a nice thing that they did there. And then you've got more red stitching you guys can see. And then I love the adaptive cruise control feature. I use that all the time. The voice command phone control features, not nearly as much. Maybe I'm not popular enough to use those. And then coming over here, got controls for the center stack. And then radio controls on the back, and that's why the paddles are split like that. I didn't like these paddles initially, but I've gotten used to them, and once I've gotten used to them, they're fine to use. They're really easy to use. And yeah, also you've got your regular turn signal windshield wiper stock, which pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, and that's all for the steering wheel area. Now here for the center gauge cluster, I love the look of it. It just has this nice premium look to it, and I love how it says TRX as well. You guys notice that I've got the tire pressures kind of all over the place. I haven't driven it in like half a week, so I haven't had a chance to check the tires. Looks like I need to air that one down just a little bit. But for cold weather driving, I mean, this is perfect. I usually have them up a little bit higher than this, but if I'm not going to do any highway driving, then I'm completely fine with having them at this PSI. Rides really smooth. And then coming down below, don't need to see that anymore, but fuel economy, you can see right now we're at 9.3 miles per gallon, so we're doing pretty good. On the off-road, it definitely gets even lower than that. On-road, it depends. Most of the highway driving, I'm in the low teens, and then around town, I can't get above 10 miles per gallon. I've tried, but so far I haven't been able to accomplish that. I guess since this is an owner review, I'm not going to go over everything here. I'm just going to go over the stuff that I mainly use. So first off, I use this as in I turn it off. I hate lane departure assistance. That's just a personal preference thing. I love the analog climate control, so I can just press the buttons quickly to kind of use as a shortcut. But I still find myself using the screen more often than not. And if you guys are wondering, the lights there at the top on the rack are to the first auxiliary switch. Probably never going to touch these because I didn't buy this truck to tow. I just got those features because I assume that someone that buys this from me might tow with it, so yeah. And then coming over here, I use launch control, well, quite often. It's definitely a fun feature. It's a fun party trick, like when people get into the truck and then you use launch control without telling them, it's absolutely hilarious because first off, they're not expecting this truck to be so fast, and then they're not expecting this truck to have launch control. Love the 4-wheel auto system. You guys know my off-road review, all that kind of stuff. It's been great. I hate this. This doesn't work very well. So whenever I want to change drive modes, I just go over into the center screen and then I scroll over to the little TRX menu right here. And then this is how I change the drive modes. So like if I want to go over to sport, I do it this way. It's just so much more seamless, so much easier to use. So that's what I recommend with that. And then also I love the camera system. That's something that I use all the time, especially the front camera right here. The truck's super wide. Of course, I didn't press the button properly. The truck's super wide, so definitely having that front camera with that view right there helps out a ton, getting in and out of narrow places. And then on the off-road, it's helped out quite a bit. But that's all for the infotainment system and the stuff I use as an owner. Now I just want to show you guys my best 0 to 60, 4.3 seconds, and then my last one apparently 9.5. So I guess I've been driving slow lately. And then notice down here, USBs, I use this for my Apple Watch, which I just like the fact there's all those USBs there. Wireless phone charger, use that all the time. I love how this just looks really nice. The shifter, I love how it feels. I just hate that I don't get the sliding back and forth of the console, and there's not a ton of storage space right there. I've got a bunch of personal stuff in the center console, so I'm not gonna open it up, but the storage space back here is definitely pretty good. And the plaque, I didn't love it at first, but now I kind of like it because it just looks nice there in the center. And then I love the whole dash. Like everything here that you look at just looks really nice, including the glove box. And again, I've got personal stuff in there, so I'm not going to open it up. But yeah, it just looks very, very nice. I mean, just look at that, kind of like look at the interior. It's perfect. Popping up top here, I did order out my truck with the panoramic sunroof, and this does also just obviously come with the power sliding window, all that. I haven't used the sunroof all that much, sadly, so I'm kind of thinking maybe I won't get a sunroof in the future. I don't know. I kind of 50-50 split on that. And then I love this camera mirror. This has been a huge option for me. Definitely love having it. Driving the Focus RS for the last few days, I've kind of missed having that. Well, definitely missed having that camera mirror for sure. But that's everything for the top. It would have been cool if they did Alcantara for the top. That would have been definitely another nice touch. Now that we're done going to the interior on the TRX, let's quickly talk about the pricing. So in terms of pricing, my TRX with all the options it has stickered for just under $95,000 for the original MSRP. Now I did pay MSRP for the truck. I got one of the first TRXs. My TRX is build number 283, so a super low VIN number. And if you guys have looked at the market whatsoever, the TRX market is crazy right now. So most dealers are asking a minimum of $10,000 to $20,000, $30,000 over sticker for the TRXs. There's some that are starting to come down to MSRP, but it's pretty rare. And then on top of that, the used market for these trucks is crazy. If you guys saw my CarMax video, I got this appraised by a Ram dealer, and the Ram dealer offered me MSRP for the truck as a trade-in, which means that the retail on these used is over MSRP, which, I mean, it's pretty crazy. But again, the truck doesn't have a ton of miles. I only have like 3,600 miles on it. And unlike the Raptor, I've actually taken good care of it. I haven't taken it off-road every other day and just beat the living crap out of it. I've actually been mostly around town driving, taken it off-road twice, and been pretty easy on the truck. But that all being said, let's take it out and talk about the driving. Well, let's talk about visibility here with the TRX before we set off. So first off, visibility over the hood is really good, and then I pretty much always have the heads-up display on, depending on where I'm driving and all that kind of stuff. And then there's your visibility through both of the mirrors, and then here's throughout the rest of the rear. So, I mean, from a visibility perspective, it's definitely solid. And that all being said, let's set off. So obviously, other than launch controls and accelerations and all that kind of stuff, is the TRX any good outside of that? Now, if you guys want to see the off-roading and stuff with this truck, then go check out my off-road review. It's just in my Ram TRX build playlist, so you guys can easily access that. But in terms of all the other stuff, right, it's got to be good at everything. It's got to be a good car to drive on a daily basis, because I mean, ultimately, this is a very expensive truck. So I know there's going to be some people that are buying this that it's going to be their second vehicle or their third vehicle, whatever. But I feel like a majority of the people buying this will probably be their only vehicle, and so it's got to be able to do everything. So first off, from a ride quality perspective, this truck does a really, really good job. It's very smooth. It definitely has a luxury car feel to it. The cabin is very well insulated, and I picked this road because this road's pretty beat up actually. Doesn't get paved all that often. And I mean, you don't feel it. It doesn't upset the vehicle. There's no like rattling or anything like that, which the Focus RS I just bought, definitely you get a little bit of rattling and everything through the car, but I mean, completely different price point, completely different build quality. But yeah, just super smooth. It feels like a luxury vehicle on road. And even though it's really heavy, 6,300 pounds, the turn-in's really nice on the truck, and the steering's actually really direct for a truck, especially when you put it in sport mode. Now I'm gonna pop it into sport mode. I'm not gonna be doing any crazy accelerating here. Once we get to a higher speed road, then we'll get an acceleration. But it makes the steering heavier. You guys can see all the stuff that changes with the sport mode. It changes the suspension, the steering, the paddle, well, the paddle shifter is always on, stability control, and then the transmission. But especially in the sport mode, it feels really direct, again, for a truck. Like, look at this. Again, I know that's not like the craziest corner, but I mean, you can go around it, and yes, you do feel the weight, but again, for being such a big, heavy truck, it does a really good job. So from all like the daily drivable things on the truck, it does really good, except the fuel economy. Like, that's the only downside of this truck. And cool, we have a speed bump coming up here, so I can show you guys with the suspension. Like, you don't even feel it. It is that good. And if you guys are wondering why the RPMs are so high, it's in the sport mode, so again, it's going to keep it in a lower gear. But yeah, it's just crazy how good it is. And of course, we are not going to be able to get our acceleration here, so we are still in the manual mode. Now I'm just going to slow down here a little bit so I can get back into first gear. This truck is insane from an acceleration standpoint. And again, you guys have seen all the videos of people accelerating and everything, and you've seen me doing launch control with this truck. I mean, I literally, as soon as my truck hit 500 miles, I did launch control with it, and I'm gonna pop it back into the automatic mode so it goes down, or sorry, goes up a gear. But yes, crazy with the acceleration. The passing power you get on the interstate is insane with this truck. That's the thing, is a lot of trucks will be pretty good from the 0 to 40 and sometimes 0 to 60. Like the Raptor is pretty good 0 to 60, but above 60 most trucks taper off. This truck still pulls like a freight train above 60, and so the passing power is just crazy. And so just everything about this truck from a daily driver perspective is great if you're looking to own one and you have the money to pay for gas. Now, obviously gas prices have been going up a little bit, and so you do have to set aside quite a bit of money. I mean, if you're gonna be driving this every single day, depending on how many miles you drive, you could be anywhere from a couple $100 a month to potentially $400 or $500 a month in fuel costs, which, yeah, that's pretty substantial. So I definitely would consider that before buying this truck if you're not okay with spending that kind of money. It is, you know what I mean, it is a lot less, no, I shouldn't say a lot less, but it is less than competitors like the Raptor. Like, I've been averaging 9 miles per gallon in this. In my Raptor, I was averaging 12 to 13. So I mean, there is a difference for sure with the fuel economy and all that. Now, as for the rest of the stuff with the truck, I just think it's great. Like, at this point, after owning this for now over 3,600 miles and having it for pretty much a couple months now, I love it. I love driving it. Every single time I get in this truck, I'm excited to drive it. I love the looks of it. I love the attention this truck gets. The Focus now is kind of like my sleeper car, where I can drive that around and not get any attention, which is nice. But yeah, and part of it's because of the green wrap, but still, I mean, it's this cool, beefy, big off-road truck. It has tons of road presence, and just the ownership experience has been really good. Yeah, we did have that little hiccup the first time I took it off-road, but Ram stepped up. They fixed the issue right away, and I haven't had any issues since. The truck has been running flawlessly. It actually feels faster now, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, as someone who's owned this truck for a few months, I love it. I guess the one thing I'd finish this review with is, if you have the money, I would go for it. I have loved this hands down, and compared to my 2020 Raptor, I've enjoyed it more. I've enjoyed it more on the off-road. The second time I took it off-road, definitely had a lot more fun with this. And on-road, it is so much better. Like these trucks, they off-road, they're pretty close, but on-road, there's no comparison. The TRX is substantially better than the Raptor, and I've enjoyed owning it a little bit more than the Raptor so far. So yeah, that's kind of our owner-ish review, and I'll continue to give you guys updates if anything happens with the truck, all that kind of stuff as I own it. But that's all for now. Now that's gonna sum things up for our video on my 2021 Ram TRX, and yeah, I'll see all of you in the next video.